Good morning, and thank you all for joining us for this session titled Little Things That Make a Big Difference, Keys to Successful Financial Grant Management. And without further ado, I will pass the virtual mic over to our presenter, Ryan Hermrich.
Hello, glad to be here today. The little things that make a big difference, the key to financial success in grant management is this is an ambitious talking point that we hear a lot at this time of year, really during the end of fiscal year, but we hear a lot throughout the time. And so this is a combination of a lot of things that keep coming up, a lot of things that we have new people moving from different roles, new to UNC, new to grant management, just little things that they just didn't know about, we don't know about, not really talked about very much, but absolutely make a big difference in what you do every day. One of the big things that's really here is that this is a big entity. UNC has over 13,000 employees. That's a lot of people. We have $1.2 billion in research grants and awards. That's the most we've ever had. So there's a lot that's really going on here. And this particular ambitious type of a presentation is to kind of take a step back and try to help out with some little things that do affect your everyday work. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and jump right on in here. As I said, UNC is big. Departments are all over the place. What happens in one department might not happen in another department. You might be on the same team, but it's slightly different. So this is absolutely true. It doesn't matter how many resources you have. If you don't know how to use them, it'll never be enough. This poor guy, all he needs is somebody to show him how to use a ladder. And sometimes it feels that way. It feels like just a very simple explanation can change your whole worldview. And that happens here a lot. So when we dive into these type of things, I'm going to go ahead and say that a lot of this is about collaborations with the people that you work with within the department, people who work with the central offices, the sponsor, PI. It all kind of comes around in full circle. And everybody needs everybody to do their job in order for it to get done. I can't do a lot of things without you. I really can't. I like to make a common joke that I'm really the janitor here at UNC because I'm the end. When your award gets to me, it's not going anywhere else. It's pretty much over with. I'm cleaning it up. But that means everybody in front of me had to do something in order for it to get to me or to my team. So we're going to go ahead and kind of start moving into helping out with some of these resources and trying to get us moving in a good direction and understanding what happens. One thing though, before I switch on, that I do want to kind of give a clarification. In research management, the most dreaded answer that you get is it depends. I can't tell you how many times I got that when I first started, and still to this day, get it depends as my answer. And I'm sure it frustrates every single one of you as it does just me, and I'm the one saying it too. So it depends is a universal truth in research management. The purpose of today's little presentation is these are universal constants. Everything I'm going to show you applies to every award. There is no it depends here. These are things that are true no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's an R01, doesn't matter if it's a Simons Award, Andrew Mellon, state, clinical trial. All of these are going to apply universally to the award. So the it depends is on trying to either work around, through, mostly through, or over whatever obstacles that are getting in our way so we can get to the end. And so hopefully, if you can take anything away from it, know that we're all in this together and that we're going to, this, like I said, it's ambitious. So let's go through today's agenda. It's 4 parts. First part is we're going to talk about how the dates affect invoicing and reporting for your entire award. Everything after that is going to tie to this first part. Dates are unbelievably important, and they have to be known and understand why they're so known and what happens afterwards. How to receive, review, and update award management, your info, goes right back into the dates, but goes back into, hey, nobody told me, or I wish I would have known. Those type of comments, hopefully this helps. Hopefully that this helps both sides going yeah, this is what this means, and this is why this is important here. And we want to at least get that going. How to take an extra step that can speed up the process. It goes all of these build on each other, but there are steps that you have to do in working every day to try to get expenses onto that project. There are just a couple of extra steps that really, really make a big difference, and especially at the end. And then at the end here, we're going to take a quick look and review some stuff that nobody tells you about. Now, I mentioned it beforehand that we have a lot of departments here at UNC, and some departments have, a primarily NIH award-based information. They're doing a lot of Fed, but to get that one non-Fed award, and they're like, wait a minute, why is this different? Why is everything so different? Because you don't really deal with them very much in a day-to-day action. Vice versa, you might be in another department that really doesn't deal with a lot of Fed awards, but you're getting a lot of private entity awards, or a lot of foundations, or that's where you really, or you could just be in a department where you only get one or two. And nobody's ever told you these little things, and that they make a big difference. It's at the end. Usually it's time sensitive. Usually somebody yelling about it, and you're trying to figure out what's going on. So we're going to have a little bit of review there. All of this is just an overview of it. We're going to try to give you something so that way it's in the back of your mind and you're thinking about it, and you're engaging everyday processes with it. So how certain dates really affect the invoicing and reporting. It does seem kind of simplistic. It really does. But the end date of the award matters. It matters in Connect, Carolina, and it matters in Ramses. Those are two different systems, two different things that are going on. But all awards end. The minute they come on, they're going to end. It's inevitable. Some of them end quicker than others. Some of them have a lot longer to go along with. But the thing is that once it starts, it's going to end. And then we're talking about the KK date. What does it mean? Why do you need to care? All right, first off, I'm going to go ahead and address the KK date means commitment control. You would think it should be CC, but we got Connect Carolina, we got CC in emails. So for whatever reason, the programmers decided to call it KK date. That's why it's called that way, but it's a commitment control date. This is the absolute, if anything is taken away from today, it's the KK date and why you should care. Because that, as in the department, is your last, that is it. That is the date that you can't do anything more past. You got that. I can't emphasize this enough, but this is the one thing that personally I hear the most about. I didn't know that the KK date really meant that much. So let's go ahead and go into the end date of the award here. All right. You're going to hear me talk also about Ramses right here in Backbone, why it needs to be up to date. Once the award starts, it's going to have an end date, and we have certain things that are in Ramses that are going to, with whoever's listed in Backbone, it's going to send out notifications. You're going to get a closeout checklist notification. 90 days before the end date of that award. You'll receive an email saying, get prepared. This thing's coming to an end in 90 days. That same email is going to go to everybody listed in Ramses under Backbone 45 days before it ends. And you're going to get that same email 7 days before it ends. That's 3 months that you're going to be pinged somewhere, somehow, that word is coming to an end, and you need to pay attention to this, and you need to have everything wrapped up. There are a lot of things that go along with it. We can definitely go into one-offs where that kind of works. Sometimes PIs will just say, why am I getting this email? I know it's going to end. Yeah, it's really a recommendation from saying, hey, it's coming to an end. Be aware of it. If you got things that you got to do. Hey, I need a no-cost extension. Really, you kind of know pretty soon before the end date of the award that it should be going on longer, that the work's just not done. PI should pretty much know this. Hopefully they're working with you with it. I understand that there's sometimes you just find out the information at a later date, but you need to be working with your SPS, which is your sponsored project specialist, before the award ends. We're looking on a no-cost extension, very common thing. The next thing you got here is a budget revision. Budget revisions happen all the time. They're part of research management. So why is it that it's such a big deal? Well, not everybody's going to give you one. You got 30 to 90 days before the end date. You should be really talking about that budget revision. Let me tell you, there's awards out there, like Governor's Highway Safety Award. You got 60 days before the end date. You hit 59 days before that end date and you ask for a budget revision, that is a no. It's not, they're just flat out not going to do it. You have to come out with a lot more and why you didn't know beforehand. So not everybody has expanded authority like you would in most federal awards. A lot of other awards, they just, no, this is what you told me that you need to do. So you got to look at your budget end dates, look at some of your awards, really understand what those terms and conditions are, because not all of them are equal. See me talking about KK dates again here. If the KK date is passed and you're able to work with your SPA, that's your sponsor project account, on getting some expenses posted, right here, what you need to do is do a ServiceNow request to get the budget check override because you're past that date. That's what's triggering it. Once you pass that date, you're not supposed to be doing journals or PATs or anything else. It's going to give you a budget problem right then and there. So ServiceNow can do it. But if you know it's going to happen beforehand, or you know your KK date is incorrect, you might have been just put in wrong, want to reach out to your sponsor project specialist and get that corrected as well. They're the ones that can do that. At the end of the day, right here, you're seeing project status changes start with the end date. So when the project is live and active, it's in an open status. A lot of things can happen and it's in an open status. Once you hit that end date plus one date, it automatically flips over to ended. That is a system thing. It will flip to ended on the date after the end date. That stops it from doing other things. That's a system generated thing that's going to stop you from putting on certain expenses or doing certain things on your project. You got reporting. You're going to see a lot of things that are rejected when it's in reporting status, and closed. Closed is pretty self-explanatory, but it's over with. Let's look at it a little bit more from a different angle other than that whole matrix there. Like I said, open status allows you to engage in all types of spending. Pretty much it's your KK, before your KK date, you're open and active, you're going forward, you're putting everything on that you need to. Nothing in the system is really going to stop you, other than the fact that if you're really trying to put on more than your overall budget. When you get to ending status, payroll post to suspense. What does that mean? If you got 10 days worth of payroll that happens, like a biweekly payroll that happens at the end of the month, but 3 days go past the end dates, say the 31st, but you got day 1, 2, and 3 in the next month are business days and still part of payroll, that's going to go to suspense because you're past the end of the award. There is no payroll that goes on after the end. Now you can do PATs. Those are in the past. You can do journals. You can do vouchers, as long as it's also before the KK date. So now you're in an ended status in your project because the award's ended, but your KK date is, you're still before your KK date. You can do all of these things at that time. You can do PATs, journals, and vouchers. No problem. They got to go through. You got that time for that KK date. But requisitions and POs are rejected because you're at the end. Why are you doing a PO? Why are you doing a requisition? You're at the end. This should have been done beforehand. That's the logic behind it. Not saying that it doesn't belong, but that's why it's going to get rejected automatically, is because we're at the end of the award. These things should have been part of it in the open part of it. So you got, if you know this is going to happen, you want to engage and get that going right away. Reporting status. A final has been done. Final invoice, final report. That's what that means when we put it in reporting status. No more expenses can post to it because we send out the final. It's static. It's over with. We're saying to the sponsor, this is everything that's been done at this particular point in time. That happens within the contract. They're all determined within the contract. And it's important to be put in reported status so we can keep audit credibility. We can have things that are on there that are true and accurate at all times. So that way, once that final report, final invoice is done, it is being put into a reporting status. That's what reporting means. Final's been done. And then close status means that, hey, not only is everything has been done, but expenses equal revenue and it equals cash received or payments received. There we've been fully paid, our expenses equal what we've been paid, and our revenue all matches. Now we can close out the project. That's what close means, basically, at that point. Because everything was done up to the reporting part. The reporting is the final, is really the end of the end. Closeout is basically us in the background saying, okay, now we finally got all of our payments. We're all lined up. Everything's lined correctly. We can go ahead and close out the award. So that's why you're seeing that particular status. Here I am coming back to KK dates in Connect Carolina and why it matters. KK dates are based on the reporting requirements for the sponsor. So the sponsor, if they want it in 30 days, they want that report, you got 20 days as an department to get your expenses on after the end date before we can get that final report to the sponsor. Now you're saying, why 10 days? It's not really 10 days. It's more like 6 business days. And you don't really have 20 days. You usually have somewhere around 14 to 15 business days to get those things put on. And you're going to see that the time gets a lot more truncated and smaller as it goes. Some federal awards, some other awards, you might have 90 days. That's great. That's where the difference in each particular one matters. But that end date happens. That the KK date is your time to get expenses put on the project on the general ledger before that KK date. Serves as an internal system deadline for budget control. It represents the final date that allows pending and other obligated transactions to post to the project, post to the general ledger. The general ledger is UNC's official financial record. That's what, when we get site visits or audits, that's what we're using. And that's what we're using the bill. That's what we're using to report on. So that way it all is tight. It all circles together. It's all the same information. One thing to know is that once you pass the KK date, you're not supposed to have any transactions posted to the award. That's why you get those warnings. Now, you can be past the KK date and the project still be in the ended status. It's not reported. That's a good thing. You got time there, but you need to really get involved with everybody. You need to work with your SPA, your sponsored project accountant. You need to yell from the highest mountaintop. You need to, get on that horn because time is really not on your side at that point. And we do have here to please contact your SPA if you have transactions that need to occur after the KK date. There's a hyperlink also on that screen to talk about exactly that. And you're going to see hyperlinks, I apologize, but you're going to see hyperlinks throughout this about where you can go get some of this information or some of the things that that will help you. But if you know you're going past your KK date, once the KK date has passed, that means that we at OSP will start working on the final invoice and final report. Because it gives us a short amount of time. There is a brief window of time between the end date and the KK date. You do not want to wait to post transactions. If they must post, you must contact us. What do I mean by a short window? Why is that such a small thing? All of our awards, and it's amazing how this happens, but it happens even when you're buying a home or something. It's always closing at the end of the month. Everybody wants to do it at the end of the month. So imagine all of these awards that UNC is working on with 30 accountants at OSP, and those particular awards that in that time and their final report are due at the end of that month. It's a lot of moving parts and a lot of awards that want to go out at the same time. So once that KK date passes, if we don't have anything and everything looks good and no closeout checklist has been communicated to us, nobody's reached out to us, and everything is lining right up, we're going to send it out. So we make sure that we send it out on time per the terms of the contract or the grant of the award. Those terms matter, and we have to adhere to them. This is the part of the dates that really matter for us, that really come back to us, is that we have to adhere to that part. Now, you could be working on a no-cost extension, you could be working on an amendment, you could be working on a whole bunch of other things, but we still have to work with what we actually have. That's a distinction here. Excuse me. What we have in hand is the contract with a certain date and time. If you're working on something for a future date, that's great, but you still got to pay attention to what we actually have and what we're actually contracted to do. And we'll do everything that we can to get those accurate and out the door on time. And that really, really matters as far as awards. So this is why the dates matter so much. And this is why we're going to be continuing talking about this and how everything after this still ties back to end date and KK date. So how to receive, review, and update award management info. When we're talking about those end dates, we're talking about all that stuff. There's systems that you need to have so you can review this, have access to it, make your life a little easier. And the first one we're going to start off with is Ramsey's. See my little thing there? It's not just for grants manager. Ask for it today. If you don't have Ramsey's access, you say Ryan from OSP said that I need access. You go to your manager today and get it. You need it. If you're here on this presentation, you need Ramsey's access. And I'm going to show you why. RAM reports. David Paul right now is doing a presentation about the new RAM reports. I highly recommend that you go ahead and watch that recording, look at it. It gives a nice little snapshot of billing and account receivables along with expenses, something you can use with your PIs. Makes life a little easier for you. Highly recommend that you watch that presentation and use that tool as well. It's another little arrow in your quiver kind of thing. Infoport. I'm sure a lot of you know a lot more about Infoport than I do, but there is a grants tab that gives you a quick overview for everything that we're talking about. It's purely informational based. And then there's other systems that are going to affect you that you need to kind of at least know, wait a minute, I got to get this going. And why do I need to get this going? So that way I can get some expenses on the general ledger in a timely manner so I can get this off my plate. Because really that's what we're here for. We're trying to get our job done so we can move it to somebody else. And usually that somebody else is my team or, you know, at the end. Ramsey's, you see in this particular one, the backbone is controlled by Oris, controlled by whoever in your department actually has the ability to add and move off people off of Ramsey. So if somebody leaves, they want to take them off. Got somebody new coming on. Usually your grants manager definitely has this because they're putting in pre-award stuff. But there's a lot of account techs out there that do not have this, and you have information that you need that is in Ramsey's. Does that mean that you can't get it from your department head or department person? No, but there's ways for you to get it from Ramsey's that can help you out tremendously. Whoever is in control of your backbone, they have to request for you to be put on. This is the information, the hyperlink right down here. It's a whole lot of information that goes along there, but it's definitely worthwhile to keep that updated. We want to keep that updated so that way it helps you get information. What kind of information? Well, if you remember back when the award, before it ends, you got that 90-day, 45-day, and 7-day closeout reminders. Those aren't required that you put them in, but boy, they're really helpful. And especially if you're that person that's got to be working on make sure all the expenses get there before it ends. That's nice to know. Plus, there's nifty project notifications that happen all the time. If your Ramsey's backbone is not updated, you could be missing out on this. Especially if you need this information. You know, awards received, new project ID, LOG established. There's a change in project dates. I don't know, maybe you get a no-cost extension you didn't know about. Hey, all of this is nice just to have the information. That's the whole purpose behind it, is to at least give you an FYI. You want to have Ramsey's to do that. Now, on another note, when you upload your closeout checklist, please email the SPA at that time. Why? Because Ramsey's does not notify us that you uploaded it. It's not part of the backbone. So when you upload, it's just an attachment. You need to email us at OSR billing, or excuse me, OSP billing. See, I'm going to say that all day. OSP billing or this the SPA that's on the award. I'm also going to show you where to find that. Those are very important because that means that you've double checked everything and you're good for it to go too, but it also lets us know that you're trying to communicate with us. Because a lot of times when people upload that, you think they are, really not. It's kind of going into a spot over here. It's just a part of Ramsey's that just doesn't work that way. It's known, it's been known, but I'm saying it here now. Please reach out to your SPA when this happens. So in Ramsey's itself, here you got this first arrow. This is where a backbone really matters, because everybody listed, the project managers, you got your PI, you got your sponsor project specialists. They're all right there. They're all hyperlinks to get the emails to them too, as well. So when you click on it, but all those notifications are going to everybody listed there. So if you need to be listed or changed or you need to be taken off, this is why it's happening. I can't tell you how many times I get somebody saying, why am I getting this email? I don't even work here anymore. It's because you're in Backbone. That's why it is. Or because you're one of the people listed here. You're going to get this because you're one of the people that are listed as somebody who needs to know. Maybe you don't. Maybe you need to let somebody on your team know, but this is why it's important. You'll see that second arrow right there. These are attachments that are in Ramsey's. So highlighted with the paper clip in yellow, that's the attachment page. All sorts of good stuff here is in attachments. The actual executed agreements and attachments, budget loads, RAM tracker reports. All of this is right here in Ramsey's. Now, you got an award, let's say you're with the state of North Carolina, they go budget specific and line item specific, specifically by the person. And you can't go over that. Now, in our general ledger, in Infoport, and RAM reports and all that stuff, it doesn't break it down by that. Salaries are just salaries. But it might say Ryan Hermrich is allowed to have $50 on this award, but no more. You can put $50 on there, but if you put $10,000 on there, you're going to reject it and not going to pay it. Because even though you have salary on budget on the award, you don't have line item budget for that award. Things can get really technical really quick, and that information lives here in Ramsey's. So you definitely want to have access to this, because you can find out a lot of stuff about your awards that people say, why didn't you know? It's right here. So please ask for it today. Also in Ramsey's, if you click on the billing tab, hey, you get to see who your accountant is. They're right there, sponsor project accountant. Unfortunately, in this one, it's me. But you also get here on that second arrow, you get the last invoice or report that was sent on this award. So anytime an invoice is sent out or a financial report is sent out, we upload it into Ramsey's under this bill tab. So whenever you get that question, hey, why hasn't my invoice been sent, or when has the invoice been sent out, or why hasn't this financial report been sent out? Look, other institutions, they're just as big as we are. They have a lot of moving parts. Not everybody's talking to everybody. Whoever the PI is talking with might not know that we actually did it, because their person might not let them know. It happens. But you'll get that frantic email or something that says, what do you mean I'm not sending out invoices? You can go right into the answers. Oh, no, it was sent back in May. Here, let me go ahead and pull this up. It's PDF, has everything right there for you. Here it is. Here's a copy of it. Is there a different email address that this needs to be sent to or something? Is there a reason why you have, it helps ask that question, because we want to make sure we're getting paid. But this is a good resource right here in Ramsey's that you can pull this up, and every single invoice or report that we do comes into this. Now, a little side note, if you've got an LOC, this is a federal award that does a drawdown. We're not going to put a drawdown in here, because that's us going into their bank and pulling the money directly out. It's not the same as an invoice, but the financial report that is required on those drawdowns will be uploaded into this particular part of this as well, or should be in that regards. And you can find out who your sponsor project accountant is and email them and say, hey, do you have this information if it's not there? Or what's going on? All of these things are good things that have that you need to touch base with or make that extra step with. So promise RAM reports. I'm going to pitch this again. David Paul's doing this. Highly recommend checking out that presentation. Has a lot of good things on this. This is a new tool. It only came out last year. We're still working on adding some stuff to it, but you can get a lot of good information here. In particular, if you got an award with a lot of subs, this will do a summary page. If you click on the award itself, it will summarize all the expenses, so you can have an overarching view or 10,000-foot view of how much has been spent total on the award, and then you can go by each project itself too. So a lot of good information here. Already starts off with the project ID, but you got your award dates that goes along here. This one particularly just ended in June 30th of 2022. But on this part where you got financials, AR, personnel, monthly reports, if you click on, The AR tab, this tells you how much has been invoiced. In this particular case, it's been $158,698.70. You've been paid $106,859.95, and they still owe us $51,838.75. And you look at that arrow right there, you got a hyperlink with the GM. That's the invoice. If you click on that, now wait for this, it's going to take you to Ramsey's, to the bill tab, so you can pull up the project ID. You need Ramsey's. You need this. You also need Ramsey's. There's a hyperlink right here for it. It's really a wonderful tool. I highly recommend it. It does help you, especially when it comes to accounts receivable or payments, those type of questions that you get, and looking up. There's a lot more to it. Follow that. But we're going to go ahead and move on here to Infoport. Now, the Infoport grants tab. This is just, and there's a, like I said, you're seeing more hyperlinks here that you can actually pull up yourself. This is only a snapshot of the page that's there. It's a long page. It's got a lot more information. Pick a project ID and go look at it. But what I want to emphasize here is that you're going to also see the processing status. This is the status that we go back to the end date of the award: open, ended, reported, closed. This award here is closed. That means we've been fully paid. All the expenses have posted it should, and the revenue equals our payments. We're done with it. You also see this, the financial report. That's the SPA right here as well. Up in the corner, you're going to see your project end date and your KK date. Remember, that KK date is very important for you. Same with that project end date. You want to work on these things as much as possible before they happen. But this is just a nice little snapshot. Every time you get a new award, go to this page. Go look at this, or look at it periodically for some other stuff. Say, hey, what's going on here? Infoport has this access as well. Now I'm going to talk about some other financial systems that you might use. Now, first, let me preface this by saying none of these systems I have access to. I have zero access. I can't look at any of these. I don't use them. They're not part of my everyday work. They're part of your guys' everyday work, but they're not part of mine. So I don't know anything really about them. I know just peripheral things about them, but I know you have to use them to get expenses put on the project. This is what I mean by some very big machine. A lot of people are doing other things. If you type in UNC GradStar, you're going to get the GradStar homepage, and you're going to find stuff there. All of these are things that you need to do for your award to get things going on. While I'm talking about GradStar here, you see this fellowship, stipends, tuitions, fees, and health insurance. These are all things that are needed to get put onto an award. Now, let me give you a little pro tip. Not well known, but it does happen. If your project is in ended status, but before the KK date, meaning you have time to put these things on the award, if you got to do it through GradStar, it's going to fail. It's going to budget fail because the project's in ended status. It needs to be in open status for you to process it. Even though you're before the KK date, the project needs to be in open status. Not everybody knows that. Why would that come up every day? It really shouldn't. But there are instances. I'm thinking of a T32 as a prime example of where this happens. You're trying to work something through GradStar. GradStar's looking at the end date of the award and the project status. That's what's stopping it from going forward. So other systems have other means that go along with Connect Carolina. All of this is not your iPhone that you can just swipe, and they're all working together under the same apps. These are very different systems trying to do very different things. I don't even want to talk about travel or Concur. I hear all the horror stories that everybody's going with that. There's a lot that needs to go there. The only thing that I will recommend is that please make sure you got a good backup system within your department on travel information, because there's going to be times where I'm going to need backup information. And from my understanding right now, it's a little bit tough in Concur or Web Travel to get it. You kind of want to keep a nice record to make your life a little easier for you in that regard, so that way you can kind of follow it. So that's really my only pro tip there. But all of these have systems that you need to do to get some expenses put onto a project. UNC GradStar, UNC Travel, UNC CBM. You'll get to their websites and the people that can help you with that. Definitely do it. iLabs, or the Recharge Corps, Ben Wright is doing a presentation this year on it. Highly recommend you, if you got recharge course, go look at it. After this is all done, pull up that one. You're going to have a lot of good information there. Ben's a really good guy. All right. That's a lot of information, and we still got a long ways to go and a short time to get there. So for all you Smoking the Bandit fans, hope you got that joke. Here we are. We're going to start talking about some extra steps that can really speed up the process. And you'll notice I say, don't just enter it and walk away. What do I mean by that? So patch, journals, cash advances, all of these you need to have it done before the KK date. And I got to tell you, there's some extra stuff that needs to happen, because what you don't want happening is that you put in your journal, and this is a true story. I got the email to prove it. Hey, my journal was entered in on April 1st. It didn't get approved until April 28th. It's a long time. And the KK date passed, mind you. The KK date was like April 20th. So it's not that that it wasn't done in a timely manner, it just wasn't approved in a timely manner. What does that mean? What exactly does that mean? This is where I'm going to try to scare you. No, I'm not really going to try to scare you, but I'm going to show you some things here. So once all steps and PATs have been approved, there are still other factors. It depends on the volume, PAT distributions. They usually run every day, but it's still the volumes. What do you mean once it's been all approved? Once you put in that PAT, there are multiple things that you need to approve. And still something can get in your way and you didn't even know about it. This quilt looking thing that's really a chart or a calendar from December 1st through December 22nd or December 2022 goes through each day of the month, and why PATs won't run during those times or what might be stopping them from running. Everything in gray is a weekend. That's just a non-working day. So those are automatically not. You need the days that are in white. There's nothing there. They'll run on those days if everything's been approved. So I keep saying that. Last business day of the month. Well, if you're in December, that's on the 23rd. You know, it's a short time. You really got to, especially if your KK date is a lot earlier than that. You got your biweekly payroll, your monthly payroll. Things might not happen within that time. This is a lot of information to show you, but you got to look at the dates itself. You need to do them early on. You got to look at workflow here. Remember how I talked you about PATs need approval? If you put in that PAT, you go over here to the workflow tab, it'll show you who you need to contact to get it approved. Might be that person in the department. You might have an instance where that person might also belong to another department. Like this one's in neurosciences. They also got a person in genetics. Those two departments got to approve it, and somebody else has got to approve it at that point to get it to OSP so they can approve it in effort. Here's the effort hyperlink to JR. Also doing a presentation in effort. Highly recommend that as well. And all that happens, and you're still dealing with the calendar because now it's approved, and now you're going up against the calendar. So if my KK date's on the 20th. Let's say I put that PAT in, got it approved on the 1st. Got it approved on the 1st, right? Well, that means it's going to run on the 2nd because it just got approved. So it's going to run the next day on the 2nd. But that's going to post to the GL, General Ledger, on the 3rd. 3 days. That's everything done perfectly. Let's say you do that on the 19th. Your KK date's the 20th. You did it on the 19th. Oh, wait, you got the weekend here. In August. It's not going to run. Oh, no, the 22nd, 23rd might not run that day either because it's biweekly payroll. So at best, it's going to run on the 24th and post on the 25th. Your report is due on the 30th. Time matters. Unbelievable amount of time matters here. We got it. I can't tell you how many times people get caught up in this. It needs to be something that you're thinking about. Journals move a little quicker. They don't quite have that same, but you still need to get your approval. Remember, I told you that story. Approved in the 1st of the month, didn't get approved until later, or it was posted 1st of the month, didn't get approved later. You got everybody over here that you click on that can approve. Also, side note, when you see Andy Johns' name on there as an approval, don't email Andy Johns to have him approve. He can't approve. He's big. He's dean level. No, you need that person in your department. You need those people that you need to know. That's who you email to approve. So take a moment of time and look at who you're asking to actually approve the thing, because Andy Johns does a lot for the university. He doesn't approve journals or PATs. He'll just send the email to somebody else to say to do it. So, take a moment to look at who you need to actually get this to go. Cost share, these are things that happen also. Thing that we gotta talk about this is your cash cost share is the same as it always been, but last year in-kind cost share is done as a journal. So a third party is done with a journal. The hyperlink is here as well. You want to go ahead and work on that. Cash advances. Oh, I can go on for days about cash advances. I really can. They also, you want to get those done as early as possible before the end date, definitely before the KK date. And you want to make sure that you use the same fund, source, and department ID so you don't have it move into the wrong account code and it's not reconciled. So definitely click on the hyperlinks when you're talking about cost share. Reach out to OSP if you have any questions about it. There's a policy here as well on how to get those reconciled. They need to happen. It's not an expense. It's not going on the report and it's not getting invoiced. So if you have an as incurred award, you can have $10,000 in cash advances that are not getting invoiced and you're not getting paid for it, but it's going to be on the department source if you don't get it reconciled. Take them seriously. You want them reconciled. We're going to go ahead and keep moving on to things that nobody tells you about. This is the stuff that comes up at the end. All the time when we get these type of things, it's usually at the end of the award. We usually get a panicky email about it or something that needs to happen, or we just, nobody knew. That happens too. Nobody knew. So what are some info that we need? Purchase orders. Odds are if you got the award, you're with a third party, they got a purchase order that goes with it. Odds are the PI got the purchase order information, nobody else did. If you get that, please forward that on to OSP. We need it to invoice and so forth. Same thing with portal access. General rule of thumb, if you got a portal, we need the portal access as well. This happens a lot at the end where we do everything, we submit it up and they go, no, this goes into our portal and it was supposed to happen yesterday. What portal are you talking about here? So if you get portal access, shoot that flag right on up, get us that email. We'll get access for us as well. Please ask any questions about that. Encumbrances, not so much for finals, but definitely for closeouts. You want to make sure your encumbrances are cleared. You're not going to get anything more, but you got that encumbrance out there. You know what? It needs to be liquidated. There's a lot of information that goes along with it. A hyperlink right here will help you get that encumbrance liquidated. What if you get a check? The check was just sent to the department. Needs to go to OSP. Needs to, right here. Don DeLillo, her email address is right here on this. You want to contact her. She's the manager of the cash management team. Also, you want to bring it to OSP. If there's one thing you take away from this part of the slide, and I'm going to say it as clearly as I can, do not put the check in inter-office mail. Bring it. Do not put it in inter-office mails. I can't say that's loud enough, proud enough. It is. You do not want to do that because that check is lost. That means you got to go back to the sponsor and tell them that you lost a check and they need to recut you one. That's not a good thing to do. It doesn't happen, but it does happen. So do not put it in inter-office mail. Bring it here, drop it off to our front desk. We have a green drop box labeled for OSP right in front of the AOB building. Definitely want to do that. Clinical trials and early terminations. The award's being terminated early. You need to let the SPS know right away so we can start getting those informations. Clinical trials, you got ones that start out for 10 years. And after year one, hey, we're done. All right, well, we got a form here that you need to clear out so we can move that closeout date in line. And then the accountant can work with the department to make sure everything is correct. All payments are received, the billing that you did. Because remember, clinical trials, you bill and report yourself. Payments are shown in as budget, but we got to make sure the F&A rate's correct, so forth. And if there's any residual to move or any overages to take off, to get that out of the way. But if it ends early, you got some extra information that needs to do. And here we are at residual balance transfers, where you're moving the residual to your award. There's a lot of information here that goes on with residual at the end. If you are allowed to keep the money after the end of it, right here, you got a lot of information. Go to OSP's procedure. This exact things will be here. What you will see on the second part is that when we talk about F&A waivers, if you're not taking full F&A on that award, once it ends, that F&A waiver doesn't go into residuals. Very key point here. F&A waivers for open and active Once it's over, that F&A waiver doesn't matter anymore because it's a residual for the university. And part of the cost of working on it is F&A. F&A is what the university puts in to get this award doing. We're going to recoup those costs. So if you got a waiver on it, you want to spend down your award because odds are you're not going to get a residual on it because it's going to be eaten up at that point in time. Just a nice little helpful hint here. We come to the end. Like I said, this is very ambitious. We're hitting the 45-minute mark exactly, but really, there's a lot that's going on here. This whole presentation is just basically, I just want you to think about it, have it in the back of your mind, spider sense tingling, and that we are all working together to complete the picture. I can't do it without you. You can't do it without somebody else, and so forth and so on. There's always a moving part that's with it that we're always got to wait for, and hopefully time is absolutely on our side. And at this point in time, I'd like to talk about contacts and so forth. You can reach out to me, OSP, billing, inbox, anything at all. You can get a copy of this presentation through the Symposium websites. Also, we can do a PDF copy for you as well. There's other presentations throughout. I highly recommend looking at the Symposium website, and you can look at past presentations and hopefully can help you navigate through this big machine that we are at UNC. And at this point, I'm going to open it up for questions.
Right. Thanks so much, Ryan. We did have one that we got. We did have someone ask if they're waiting on next year's award to be received. When should they submit the LOG?
Right away.
And
absolutely. That's a fantastic question, and one that I would like to actually expand on a little bit more, because the LOG at the beginning of the award is important, especially if you're in the effort certification period. What happens a lot of times when people don't do an LOG and the award finally gets approved and the effort certification is already passed, you got to go jump through some extra hoops just to get that process that put on those payrolls. So definitely, if you know this is happening, good faith, everything is on the up and up, you want to get that LOG going as soon as you can on those new awards. So that way you can get payroll going on them. And so that way, once it becomes live and active and the sponsor says, hey, I want an invoice on it, we can do it fairly right away because, hey, expenses have been put on and we do have something to actually report. So it's a fantastic question. There's some little bit of extra there. Mostly it's about effort.
so that was the only question we had submitted. And I do want to give a big thank you again to Ryan for this informative session. Ryan, you should be sure to check out the chat. You've gotten a couple of shout outs in there for giving such a good presentation.
Hello.
And I'd like to thank all of you for attending as well.